Hello and welcome back to Kivy School. Today we're going to be going over part 3, which is connecting Whisper AI and Kivy. So this is the preparation part. This is for KivyWhisper, which is a GUI for OpenAI's Whisper. All that Whisper does is it converts speech to text. So let's continue. So again, we're connecting Whisper AI and Kivy. This is the recap. We know how to change the file chooser's drive. Instead of a drop-down, we've chosen the spinner so we can change the file chooser drive. And then now we have the old to-do. The old to-do is we still need to finish our Kivy GUI. We know how to use a file chooser, and we don't need to make the text file markdown compliant. Where we are at right now is selecting a file, or right here, making the file chooser actually do something. So how do you select a file from file chooser? And that is filechooser.selection. That's how you get your files. Actually, there's two obvious fail states. Number one, what if you want to transcribe and you haven't selected a file, right? That's a fail state. That's an obvious fail state. Number two, what if your selection is not an audio file, right? For this case right here, the plan is to let Whisper run. We're going to catch the error, and then we'll blindly tell the user to try again with an audio file. Plus, we'll show an error pop up. So that's our plan for the two obvious fail states. There might be more, but I'm not covering them in this section. So how do you select a file from file chooser? We're going to look at midpoint3a.py. So right now, going like this, Python midpoint3a.py. I want to respond to a selection of a file. To do this, under file chooser, use onSelection. So when you select, that event will run. I've also changed this button right here to a label, and then I set an ID on this button. Then on selection, I will change the label's text. If you see right here, I click, I've changed the label already, right? I changed the label and it responds to a selection of files from the file chooser. Okay, let's keep going. So how do you select the file from file chooser? So the first bug is sometimes the selection does not exist, like when you're going up a folder. So if we go down like here, right? If we go up, you see my selection has disappeared. So that's a bug and it will crash. What you need to do is you need to figure out if self.selection is empty or not. So the bug is, this is because self.selection of 0, getting the first element, will give an index error since selection is an empty list, right? So if you say selected file and then empty list, but you're trying to get an index of 0 from an empty list, you will crash. So we need to do a simple if statement. All we do is check for the length that self.selection is 0. So you go like here, I've selected it, right? But if I change files, I have no more selection. And it says, okay, self-selection is an empty list, so it's not greater than 0. I reset the label of selected file. So here it is, it's the one-liner. This root ID selected text ID.text, which is the ID of this button. And then I'm setting the text to selected file plus the selection if the selection is greater than 0. Or else you just set to the default, which is selected file colon and then a space. So this line broken down, right? Let's go look at it. So this line broken down. Root.IDs selected text ID.text, right? Selected file plus self.selection. If the length of self.selection is greater than 0, else selected file is empty. So it will first check if self.selection has a selection, aka the length is greater than 0. This is our first check. And then set the text to selected file plus self.selection of 0, the first element. Why? Because we already know that the length of this list is greater than 0, so this will not error out. If the length of self.selection is less than 0, then that means it's an empty list, and then we can just default to selected file. So to recap, we have responded to a file chooser selection with onSelection. We have changed the button to reflect the selection. The selection is a list, so I naively choose the first element. We also changed the button to a label. We set in label KV, multiline is equal to true. I'll show this right after I go over the slide. We set in the label KV, vertical align is center. I set in the label KV, do wrap is equal to true. And then for text wrap to work, you just have to add text size is equal self.size. So let's very quickly do the bottom one first, and then I'll show the top one. So here it says, another Kivy question I see often about using the label widget, how to have text wrap automatically. how to have label automatically grow to accommodate this text. So the answer is just set the text size to self.size. So if you want to read more, you can read this. This is the wrapping text in Kivy's label on inclem.net. Then I will show you the other changes too on midpoint3.py. So respond to file chooser selection with on selection. Click, it's responding, correct? I changed the button to reflect the selection, correct? Selection is a list. Okay, I did this, and then in label KV, multiline is equal to true. So you can see right here, I've changed it from a button to a label. I've given it the ID and have multiline do wrap vertical align. So let's go find something that has a long name. Try this. Okay, so you see right here, multiline is true. The vertical alignment is the center. If it was not the center, it could be at the bottom right here. But because I set it to the center, it looks nice. And then do wrap true, yeah, because it goes like this and like this. And then I set text size to self.size. The app now looks like this. It's saved as midpoint3a.py. As you can see, there's multiline right here, and it responds to selection. So recap from the very beginning, we have made a new virtual end with Poetry. We've installed Whisper with Poetry. We've applied Whisper to a test video. We've also made a Kivy GUI. Now we select a file and we respond to a file selection. We've used the file chooser. Now the next step is here, which is output a text file in the same current working directory. It's right here. Basically, now we need to, from Kivy, use Whisper and then execute Whisper. How can we change a file chooser's drive? The answer is, this is just something you either need to know or you can Google it and then look in the docs. Change filechooser.path. We've made a dropdown to change the file chooser drive. It's not really a dropdown, it's now a spinner. In addition to the old to-do, we've made the Kivy GUI, we've selected a file, we've used the file chooser. And then we're right here. We're going to actually now connect Kivy and Whisper. Thank you for watching. The next part will be part 4, which is connect Whisper AI and Kivy for real.